Here we have a sample of 150 is drawn from a population with a proportion equal to 0.38. So we're going to use our formula P is, our proportion is 0.38, and then N is 150. So we have to do our test where we see if N times P is bigger than 5, which it is. And then we want to do N times 1 minus P and make sure that it is greater than or equal to 5. So it is. Because these are greater than or equal to 5, we can use the normal distribution to approximate the binomial distribution. Okay, so now we're ready to get the standard error of the proportion, which is going to be equal to the square root of P and then times 1 minus P divided by N, and then close your parenthesis there. And so this is your standard error of proportion. And if you click on view an example, it will tell you that this needs to be rounded to 4 decimal places. It will also tell you to use Excel for this problem. Now for our proportion, we have 50 and 54, and we have to do this 50 divided by 150 and 54 divided by 150. So for our sample proportion, we're going to do 50 divided by 150, and our sample proportion for our second one is 54 divided by 150. Now we are ready to calculate. These also need to be rounded to 4 decimal places. So now we're ready to get our z-score. I'm going to do, so what you want to do is you want to do your sample proportion minus your proportion up here divided by your standard error, which is this. Yes. Okay, so there is our z-score for the first one, and the z-score for the second one is going to be, we're going to do our sample minus P divided by the standard error of P. Okay, now it says, let's just look at our example here. We don't calculate the z-scores rounding to 2 decimal places. So here we're going to do 2 decimal places for both of these. And then we want to do the norm.dis norm.s.dis Okay, and the z is negative 1.18, and we want it to be cumulative because the less than part of this we're going to subtract out. And I forgot to, I'm just going to click cumulative. And it may, there it is. Okay, true. Alright, so there's that one, and then for this second one, we're going to do the same thing. Alright, and it's negative 0.50, and it's going to be true. And let me see what we need to round to. For this, we want to round to 4 decimal places. So if you're trying to find the probability of between these two, you're going to take the bigger one and subtract out the smaller one, and you get 0.1879. Now let's see if that is right. Let's see if that's right. Check my answer. So I decided that it's because the example, the view and example rounds the z-score to 2 decimal places, but the directions say round to 4 decimal places as needed. So anytime you're doing a calculation, you want to round to 4. So when you get your z-score here, you want it to be 4 decimal places. Alright, so we're going to make that 4. And we're going to make this 4. So when you do this, okay, and you do this one, and then you subtract, you'll get the 0.1874. So as you're working this, make sure you round to 4 decimal places for the z-score. Well, for everything.